Today, we've covered one of the most misunderstood areas of chiropractic practice, and that is the CEO's role in marketing and visibility. So how is it that CEOs think about marketing? Well, marketing is not just about getting new patients. It's about becoming known for something to someone. If you're positioning yourself as the go-to family chiropractor, but your Instagram is all neck pain memes, there's a disconnect. And it's congruency that builds trust and clarity that builds momentum. Here's the biggest mistake I see chiropractors make when it comes to their marketing. It's not that they outsource it. We should be outsourcing a lot of our marketing. It's that they abdicate it, okay? They hand it all over to somebody else and hope that person will magically make new patients appear. We think there's a new patient fairy there. They fall in love with a fantasy that marketing can be somebody else's problem. But here's the truth. You cannot outsource clarity. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Marketing Your Practice podcast, the podcast where I have the pleasure of simplifying the marketing and the mindset so you, the chiropractor, can increase your income, your impact, and your enjoyment in practice too. Now, this is part 4 of a series called the Chiropractic CEO Code. It's a 7-part mini MBA designed to help you step out of the technician mode and start leading your practice like a true CEO. And today we're talking about marketing and visibility. But before we get there, I want to zoom out for a moment and I want to remind you of the 3 time zones that chiropractors often get stuck in, okay? So before we start talking about marketing, let's talk about time, specifically how chiropractors spend it. There are 3 time zones that we explored back in episode 2, and they're worth revisiting because they set the stage right now for how you should show up as a CEO. You might remember we talked about patient time. We called this zone number 1. This is where most of us as chiropractors live by default. It's booked for us, it's structured, it's part of the week that happens whether we plan it or not as well. And for most chiropractors, this is where we feel absolutely most confident. It's where the magic happens. It's the hands-on, it's the heart-centered care. But here's the catch. Patient time alone doesn't grow your practice. It might maintain it. It can get the ball rolling as well. But if all you're doing is adjusting and dealing with what's right in front of you, you'll end up feeling stuck and you'll end up having a practice that is going to be always more difficult than what it ought to be, okay? The second zone is what I refer to as CEO time, okay? Now, this is where growth happens. This is the time where you spend working on the business, not in it. It means you're reviewing your marketing, you're planning your meetings, you're refining systems, you're creating training, you're setting the vision for projects over the coming 6 weeks. This time is all about building the machine, not running on the treadmill as well. Now, the problem is CEO time never happens unless we create it, okay? Remember we talked about zone 1. Patients are going to be there. We've got someone at the front desk that's going to make all that happen. CEO time is not going to. We actually have to intentionally set time apart. No one books this for you. There's no alert. There's no one chasing you up to do it. So unless you're actively protecting it, it tends to disappear really quickly. Now, the third zone is called personal time. And again, this one is also really easy to neglect, especially for those of you that are really wired to serve. But the truth is, your practice exists to support your life, okay? Not the other way around. Personal time includes things like rest and exercise and family time and hobbies, space to think and recharge. It's where you rebuild your energy, reset your nervous system, and to remind yourself of who you are outside the adjusting room. Now, again, there can be a tendency for those of us that really love to serve to push that to the side. But if we don't have personal time, we risk breakdown in one form or another, okay? The chiropractors who last, the ones who thrive, schedule personal time like it's a priority, not like it's an afterthought as well. So as we head into today's thought and focus on marketing, I want you to be thinking from zone 2, okay? That's CEO time. And this starts with understanding what you're responsible for. So let's again do a quick review of the 5 core responsibilities of the CEO. So when we're in that CEO time, okay, the first is vision and direction. And we talked about this in last week's episode. This is setting clear goals and keeping the business moving towards them. Remember, there's 3 layers. There's a 3 to 5 year vision. What does your practice look like long term? A 12-month destination what is going to make this year a success, and there's 6-week projects. What can you do right now to move closer to the future? Okay, these are all the things you're thinking about as a CEO with regards to vision and direction. Marketing and visibility, we're going to dive deeper into this today as well, okay? Financial health, that's knowing your numbers and using them to help make decisions. Team and culture, hiring, training, and creating the culture of accountability. And the fifth and final one is systems and processes. This is designing repeatable ways of doing things so your practice can run without you having to micromanage, okay? Now, today, we're going to dive into number 2, marketing and visibility, because if people don't know that you exist or don't understand the value of what you do, the rest of your business is going to grind to an absolute halt. So how is it that CEOs think about marketing? Well, marketing is not just about getting new patients. It's about becoming known for something to someone. Let me say that again. Marketing isn't just about getting new patients. It's about becoming known for something to someone. And as CEO, you don't have to execute every tactic yourself, but you do need to lead the thinking behind your marketing. We're going to talk about this a little bit more later on in the episode, okay? This begins foundationally of knowing who you're perfect for, okay? Now, we talked about this when I went through the 7-figure lifestyle practice triangle. I introduced you to a concept called the Standout Strategy. We're going to talk about that a little bit again right now. You need to clarify who you're perfect for. If someone is going to drive past 5 other chiropractors to come and see you, they need to know why, okay? And now not only are they driving past other chiropractors, but they're choosing other health practitioners as well. You know, do I go to a Pilates, a yoga instructor? Do I see a naturopath, an osteopath, a Chinese med practitioner? Do I continue work with my pediatrician? If they're going to make the effort to spend their time and their energy and their money, then they need to know why. That means you need to know why, okay? Now, this doesn't mean, and again, when I have this discussion with people think that what I'm trying to say is that you have to think that you're better than every other chiropractor in your town. This is not better in general, okay? But it's better for a specific type of person, okay? This is the heart of the Standout Strategy. And if you know how to position yourself in the mind of your community as well, this is how you then start to create content and messaging that actually resonates with them. Okay. The key thing here is knowing who you're perfect for you as well. So, for example, you might be the go-to practice for health-conscious families who want to stay well, not just get out of pain. Maybe you provide subluxation-based nerve system-first chiropractic care in a warm and uplifting environment. We're not for everybody, and we're okay with that. Right? That practice there is really clear. Once they've having a statement like this, it informs what their website looks like. It informs what their Instagram looks like. It informs what joint ventures and who they might want to partner with in their community, okay? Now, I'm not saying that you need to have a practice like this, but that's just an example, okay? Now, it's possible that you're not there yet. Maybe you're still adjusting everybody and anybody who walks through the door, and that's okay. Or you don't know who you're perfect for. So here's some questions that might help to point you in the right direction. Start by asking, who do I love working with? That's a good spot to begin. What results really light me up? Is it athletes? Is it families? Is it children? Is it really complicated children? I know, for instance, the work that Lauren does in her practice, she works with lots of children who are really difficult kids. And again, to be truthful here, this is not the sort of practice that I wanted to have. But we had someone in my practice that looked after this. But again, what results light you up? What kind of care do you want to be known for, okay? And what would you need to learn, say, or deliver differently to truly be the best choice of that person? And so when you ask that question to yourself, why should somebody come to me and pass 5 other chiropractors and several other health practitioners? It's possible that you might not be able to answer that with confidence. And so you say, what would I need to learn or say or deliver so I could answer that? And here begins your journey as CEO to upskill yourself into. This is how you grow into your standout strategy. For many of you, this is going to be a work in progress. And for some of you, you can have this nailed and dialed in right now. You know exactly who you're perfect for. You know that you're great with them. You know who you love working with and who you get great results with, okay? So this is not just about where you are right now. It's about where you're leading your practice. And for me, this standout strategy was always a work in progress. Now, once we have our standout strategy, the second thing that we need to do is we need to fire up our broadcast engine. So once you know who you're perfect for, you've got to share it. consistently and intentionally. And that's where your broadcast engine comes in. Now, there are three major cylinders inside of the broadcast engine. The first is what we refer to as owned media. This is your website. This is your email list. This is your patient communication. These are your assets. You control them and their foundation, okay? So key here, you control them, all right? So this, when we compare this to the second cylinder, borrowed media, this is things like social media followers, referral partners, community workshops. You don't own these channels. Now you can leverage them, and when we use them and leverage them right, they can be very powerful, but we're vulnerable. Instagram can change the rules. We can have a referral relationship with a practitioner in a town and all of a sudden they move, or maybe they change their mind for some reason as well. So borrowed media, we don't have control over it, but when we use it properly, it's very powerful. And the third and final cylinder I want to talk about as part of our broadcast engine here is bought media, okay? So this is things that we're actually paying for. It's ads, it's Google, it's Facebook, it's local publications. Now, these allow you to amplify your reach, but only if your message is already dialed in, okay? When we know who we are, we've got a really clear standout strategy and we can put that message in front of the right people and make it magnetic, then bought media can be very, very effective, okay? Now, here's the key insight. It's important that you don't rely just on one of these, okay? Owned media, borrowed media, or bought media. Now, I see this as a mistake all the time, and we made it in our practice as well. My practice used to rely really heavily on spinal screenings, and for a long time, they worked incredibly well. We could spend one weekend a month and we would get 30 or 40 new patients from it, okay? A steady stream of high-quality new patients that would come along to our spinal care class as well. We'd be able to educate them, and this helped to build the foundations of a really lovely, thriving practice. But then they stopped working. And almost practically overnight, well, certainly over a 6-month period, spinal screenings stopped working. And I noticed my friends that were doing them as well, they were seeing the same things. And we didn't have a backup. So this caused some real tension in our practice, in what I had been used to, the number of people I'd been caring for, plus the lifestyle that my practice had been financing for me as well. I knew I needed to look for other avenues for us to attract new patients. And this is a big part of the journey that led me to where I am right now. So when we only have one avenue, this makes a practice vulnerable. And it's a story that I see repeated by so many chiropractic practices. So here's my advice. Build redundancy into your marketing. You want to choose at least 2 channels. And one of those channels I want to be owned media, okay? This is the one that you control. So it's either owned and borrowed or owned and bought. I don't mind which one of those that you go for. Choose an avenue that resonates with you. Maybe it is building relationships inside of your community, or maybe you've already got somebody that's running really great Facebook ads for you, or maybe you're doing mail drops in your community that's working for you, or radio or television. Whatever it is, make sure that owned media is one of them, and then start to dive into either borrowed or bought, okay? Now, also know this. Finding a channel that works for you is going to take time, more times than not. Not every media type will bring immediate results. It takes testing, it takes refining, and it takes a sense of consistency. So you might want to start by asking this, okay? What's already working for you right now? And could you amplify that? Could I really ramp that up? Maybe you're already getting some referrals from different people in your community and you're really great at building relationships. And this is all happened by accident. Could you start to formalize that a little bit more? Where could you start to run some experiments? I love the idea of experiments, because when we run an experiment, we mentally set ourselves that it's totally okay for failure. And if you were to run a series of marketing experiments over this next 12 months, my guess is if you run one marketing experiment every month for the next 12 months, you're going to find 3 or 4 things that work. And then as you get better at those, when you get into next year, you're going to have a whole array of things that are building patients or bringing patients into your practice, okay? Now, keep this in mind also. Trust takes time. Google refers to this as the 0 moment of truth, and research shows that people need to spend an average of 7 hours across 11 interactions and 4 different locations, like your website, your social media, your emails, in-person events, before they feel ready to trust you and take action. Now, this is why short-term marketing bursts very rarely work and often end up a total flop. They don't give people enough time or touch points to build trust. So if you're posting on Instagram and you've been doing this for the last month and you're wondering why it's not working, hang in there, okay? What you're doing is you're building equity, you're building assets. And you need to keep showing up week after week if you want to get results from this. And finally, your marketing really needs to match your standout strategy. So if you're positioning yourself as the go-to family chiropractor, but your Instagram is all neck pain memes, there's a disconnect. And it's congruency that builds trust and clarity that builds momentum. That's your job as the CEO, okay? Now, let's talk a little bit now about why you must lead and not abdicate your marketing. Here's the biggest mistake I see chiropractors make when it comes to their marketing. It's not that they outsource it. We should be outsourcing a lot of our marketing. It's that they abdicate it, okay? They hand it all over to somebody else and hope that person will magically make new patients appear, okay? We think there's a new patient fairy there. They fall in love with a fantasy that marketing can be somebody else's problem. But here's the truth. You cannot outsource clarity. If you haven't defined your standout strategy, if you haven't decided which media channels that you want to be prioritizing, if you haven't set clear outcomes and metrics, then you're handing over the wheel without a map. This is when your marketing feels frustrating, ineffective, and of course, expensive. You might be attracting the wrong type of patient or maybe no patients at all. So, no, I'm not saying don't work with a marketing team, okay? You absolutely can and you should be outsourcing a lot of this, but there's a big difference between delegating and abdicating. Delegating means you set the vision, okay? You communicate expectations and you stay connected to the numbers. You provide regular feedback. Abdicating means you hope they'll figure it out for you. You'll only check in when it's not working and you have no idea what success looks like, okay? As CEO, your job is to lead the marketing, okay? Not to micromanage it, but it's also not to ignore it as well. If you want to outsource well, start by doing something like this. Write a one-page summary of your standout strategy and your ideal outcome. Decide what channels that you want to focus on. Is it owned, borrowed, bought? Where is it that you're going to begin? And meet monthly to review the results and make strategic decisions. And fourth and finally, give them time to get results. Remember, marketing is about building relationships in the same way that health takes time to build, so do relationships as well. This is how you create a marketing that works, a marketing team that works with you and not against you, okay? And that's what CEO leadership looks like as well. So let's wrap all this up. Today, we've covered one of the most misunderstood areas of chiropractic practice, and that is the CEO's role in marketing and visibility. We explore the 3 different time zones as well, and how great marketing happens when you're operating in zone 2, which is CEO time. We talked through the 5 core responsibilities of the CEO and where marketing fits inside of that. We talked about the power of defining who you're perfect for using your standout strategy. And remember, if you're not perfect for them just now, what are the list of things that you need to do so you can become perfect for them? I introduced you or reminded you of the broadcast engine. We talked about owned, borrowed, and bought media and why you need to have some mastery in around at least 2 of those, okay? We talked about why marketing takes time. I introduced you to Google's 0 moment of truth of 7 hours, 11 interactions, and 4 locations. And we talked about the difference between delegating and abdicating your marketing. So here's your action step from today's episode. Block out 30 minutes of CEO time this week and reflect on your marketing. Are you clear who you're perfect for? Which of your media channels are working? And where do you need to build in redundancy? What's the next one for you to start to work? And ask yourself this question, are you leading your marketing or have you handed it off blindly as well? Now, next week, we'll be talking all about financial health. We'll be talking about how to actually understand your numbers, not in a boring accountant type way, but in a way that helps you confidently make decisions, pay yourself well, and grow your practice sustainably. All right, folks, that's it for today. Thanks for all that you do. Keep saving lives, and I'll see you back here next week. Bye. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out my Community Influencer Program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work with you to help you apply it, implement it, and systemize it. The Community Influencer Group Coaching Program is designed to help you increase your practice income, impact, and enjoyment. Join me over at anguspyke.com/join. That's anguspyke.com/join. I'd love to see you there.